So, for today's recovery vlog, I'm going to be talking about synchronicity. So, the psychologist Carl Jung coined the term synchronicity. And from an esoteric point of view, this is its meaning. When you face that which in yourself is blocking you off from your inner being or from the collective unconscious, when you're isolated, life tends to not work out in your favor. Problems tend to arise. If you're in a state of calamity within, then you will attract calamitous situations and a calamitous lifestyle. This philosophy is kind of similar to that book, The Secret, The Law of Attraction. I'm not a huge fan of that book. I'm not a huge fan of people who are kind of obsessed with the law of attraction and how to manifest money and abundance and all that stuff. My teaching is more concerned with the internal transformation. However, that being said, once we face the demons within ourselves and once we actually start to pursue a path of meaning and divine purpose, we begin to see what are called meaningful coincidences. So, for example, you're having a specific problem in life and you don't know the answer to it, and you prayerfully put your intention out into the universe that you're looking for an answer to this particular problem. And all of a sudden, a song comes on the radio and it touches you on such a deep emotional level that all of a sudden you have the answer to your problem, or you realize there was no problem the whole time. Um, or when you're focusing and when you're studying on a new aspect of spirituality, you'll run into a random stranger on the street and the conversation will just come up, and the some more of the answers of where to go from where you are at that given moment will come up in the conversation. One of my favorite synchronicities, however, is when you are going through your own personal problems and you're trying so hard to solve it, so hard to fix it, but the more you try to figure it out, the more problematic it becomes. And then somebody else comes into your life and they're dealing with their own troublesome life situation, and just without thinking, just intuitively from your heart, you give them an answer to try to guide them along the right path out of the kindness of your heart and just, a genuine respect and concern for your fellow human being. And it turns out that the answer you gave them was exactly the answer that you needed to hear. Um, a very common sign of synchronicity is that you will see patterns of numbers. Many people report, people who are newly on a path of spirituality will report that they keep seeing sequences of numbers. Every time they look at the clock, it's either 111 or 1111 or 222 or 333 or what have you. Um, and Another common synchronicity is that you will end up at the right place at the right time, where if you would have arrived 2 minutes earlier or 2 minutes later, an amazing life-changing opportunity would not have arisen. Um, Oftentimes, when we're going by our ego and just pursuing what we want to do, even though we've requested spiritual guidance, divine intervention will happen, and whatever you planned goes out the window because something else comes up. And at first, it seems very troublesome, and you might even get a little bit resentful about it, like that it's not going your way. But then when it's all said and done, you realize that if it had gone your way, it either would have been disastrous or you would have missed out on an amazing opportunity. The moral and the lesson behind here is that the more you focus on these synchronicities, these meaningful coincidences, the more apparent they will become to you. And when they're becoming apparent to you, your spirit guides and your angels are actually communicating with you. They will communicate with you in ways that you can understand. Some people have different psychic gifts. Clairvoyance means clear sight. where you will actually see visuals and visions. Then there's clairaudience, where you will actually hear sounds. There's clairsentience. Empaths are considered clairsentient, where you will feel feelings. Like you'll be in a situation that is very dangerous, and all of a sudden you'll just get this feeling inside of you. I better get out of here, and and you leave, and it turns out that you avoided disaster. There's been situations where people have escaped serial killers because of that clairsentience. um, and then the I'd say the most common one that I experience is claircognizance, where all of a sudden you just know something, and you know it without having studied it, and you know it on a deeper level than had you have studied it. And the way you'll know that it's actual claircognizance and not just wishful thinking is that there's no fear and there's no ego involved. So if somebody says to you, "Oh no, you're wrong," or they disagree or they try to argue with you, it won't feel like threatening. It won't feel like a personal attack, because you know in your heart of hearts, you know in your soul that it's the truth. I had one buddy. His name was Jacob. He was a Jewish man, a hippie, and he was deeply, deeply clairsentient. And him and I would have philosophical discussions, and every time I would say something that had a deeper spiritual truth, he would get a shiver down his spine and his whole body would shake. That's another example of clairsentience. Um, Another thing I want to bring up is, do you ever just know when someone's watching you, and then you turn around and it turns out someone actually is watching you? How about when you just know somebody's watching you, but you look around everywhere and you can't see anyone? No one's around. Well, perhaps someone is watching you that is imperceptible to the naked eye. Um, in my other series and in my other topics of discussion, I'm going to talk about the astral plane and how that all works. Uh, but for now, I want to focus more on synchronicities. When synchronicities occur, in general, your ego will immediately step in and try to plant doubt in you, try to say, "Oh, it's just a coincidence." But when you let go of that doubt and honestly ask yourself, is this a meaningful synchronicity? Is this a meaningful coincidence? And instead of thinking the answer, you feel the answer, then you'll know if the answer is yes or if it's just wishful thinking. Wishful thinking is the greatest. Well, I say this a lot because I tend to exaggerate. Wishful thinking can be a very common hindrance to any type of psychic ability. For example, past life regression. A lot of people want to believe that they're the reincarnation of King Arthur or Merlin or Cleopatra or some famous figure in history. Some more sick individuals might want to think that they're the reincarnation of like Jack the Ripper or something. And you know that the chances of that actually being the case are not very high. Um, but past life regression, that's a whole other topic that I'm going to go into in another one, in yet another one of my series. Again, this is just my recovery vlog. I'm just checking in. I'm just letting everyone know that I'm still sober, still on the good path, and I'm so excited about this channel. I just love that. I just love doing this. You know, I don't have very many subs. Lots of my videos have no views. I'm totally cool with that because I just love doing this. I just love putting out content. It gives me a sense of purpose. I feel like I'm not sitting idle while I see all these problems in the world, and I'm not just laying in bed depressed, feeling like a victim of circumstance. I'm actually doing something about it. And that in and of itself is such a gift, and it's such a privilege and an honor to be able to be on this platform and put out content. And the fact that I have a few people that actually watch some of my videos, it it just fills me with so much joy. It just makes me so happy. I just love it. And I love you all, and thank you so much for watching. And stay tuned. I'm going to be doing the fourth column of the step 4 in the 12 step guide series. And I'm going to try to put out another meditation class, but more likely I'm going to start my series on native spirituality. Don't quote me on any of that because as of yet it's undetermined, but for sure I'm going to get out the next step of the fourth step, fourth column as soon as possible. And that's all I have to say. So, bright blessings to each and every one of you. And remember to believe in yourself.